Hello creative longevity lifestyle designers, this is Gavin here with secretsoflongevity.com. I hope you enjoyed the previous video to this. I'll link it at the end of the video in the usual spot with the previous video link. That, if you did not realize it because you skipped it or turned it off too soon, it was an April Fool's joke. It's my sense of humor, a little tongue-in-cheek, and I'm not going to go on about it, but I just wanted to point out that it was an April Fool's joke. If you missed that aspect of it at the end where I actually had that come up on the screen. So, the thing I was going to originally talk about was, I was really almost like struggling to come up with something for a video, and I kind of have somewhat of a schedule, even though it probably doesn't appear that way, but I have a schedule for when I like to shoot my videos, and if I don't quite have an idea, I'll just get in the front of the camera and just start trying to talk. And sometimes it's really difficult and the topic doesn't come. So I was standing here half an hour ago trying to kind of pull together some ideas and it wasn't coming. And so I just sat down and was going on the computer trying to get some inspiration for things, and I just suddenly found myself looking at retreats online. And I was going through, browsing, looking at the cost of like 1 week retreats, and nothing too far away or too extravagant. I just was looking for, or felt drawn to look for, something that was sort of quaint, simple, and would provide me with a place that I could totally unplug. And I just kind of realized I haven't had a chance to completely unplug and almost have like my own sort of mental detox from just the daily grind, even if it's not the most stressful lifestyle that I live. I'm just feeling like I need a change in my pattern of my life, and that's generally what people get drawn to do when it comes time for spring. It's a time of cleansing, of renewal, of discarding those old patterns. Most people first think of dietary, so yes, there can be dietary cleansing, but there's a whole host of other things that we need to cleanse in addition to diet. So while I'm not actually making plans to go do that, it was kind of a sign to myself that there's certain things that I'm feeling drawn to needing to do, and a lot of it has to do with sort of the five senses and needing to almost like do a little detox from them. So what do I mean by that? Well, we are constantly taking in information every day. Sleep is a time when we take a break from that. So we're in darkness, ideally there's a lot of quiet, and all our senses shut down and we go internal. Now the busier and more chaotic our lives are, the more oppressive those effects are going to be on our senses. Sight, hearing are really the big two, but also smell, touch, and taste to some degree. So by almost like taking a break from those things in various ways, not necessarily all at the same time, as also we can sort of recharge the sort of internal aspect of our being that is associated with that sense. It's a difficult thing to explain because it is quite esoteric. There's a lot of yogic practices that specifically focus on the different senses, and you give yourself a break from a sense for a period of time. It could just be a day, it could be a week. Obviously you can't go extended periods of time with breaks from certain senses like sight. It's a little bit more important than, say, doing a dietary cleanse where you're eating really bland food for like a week so that you give your sense of taste almost like a break by eating just bland food. But you can do it if you have the right setup where you can have a week where you're in meditation a lot, so your eyes are closed, or you go on a silence retreat where you're not talking and overusing sort of speech and hearing, or that's almost like combining the two if it's a meditation type, what's known as Vipassana. That's a really popular form of retreat. Now I've never done that, and I'd probably be very intrigued to give it a try. I don't tend to think that that's totally necessary to go to that extreme. If we incorporate little periods here and there on a more regular basis, we can still get that recharge happening. That affects our internal well-being, which, as we know, then affects, in turn, our physical well-being. So sights and smells, that should be obvious. As we're coming up to spring, we're going to be getting outside more and getting more exposure to smells. I worked for quite a while, even at the start of my YouTube channel, for an essential oil distributor. And through that experience, I was constantly surrounded by wonderful smells, first of all, but I also learned a lot about how much our mental state can be affected by smells. There were certain combinations that would evoke certain feelings in people, and those were blends to create certain things to happen. And just as someone who's always been very particular about what smells are around me in my environment, that's one I think a lot of people tend to overlook. So if you have like a lot of synthetics in your vicinity, or you use cleaners that have offensive smells, it can be quite oppressive over time. Or if you work somewhere that has really harsh smells, that has its wear and tear on your sort of like your, what some people call your stress defense shield. So you have sort of this tolerance of everyday stuff, and anyone knows that it's not usually really big stressful things that cause people to have, like, I don't want to say nervous breakdowns, but feeling like they're overburdened with stress over a long period of time. It's those little things that consistently over time that you're exposed to that really wear you down and can leave you, if we're talking even years, with extreme adrenal burnout, some very, very severe symptoms of exhaustion, and smell is among that, but also all these other things that can overstimulate our senses. So it's really important on a regular basis to give yourself breaks from different senses. And it doesn't mean completely shutting them out either. It could be on your weekend, instead of going out and socializing every weekend, or every night of every weekend, even if it's just one night a month, give yourself 2 hours to, in dim lighting, really meditate and go inwards. If you already meditate, maybe a longer practice than you normally do. Or maybe your thing is to go on a weekend retreat where you can pay someone or pay a facility to set something up that suits your needs. So it's really about sitting down with yourself and deciding what it is you need for your own retreat of the senses, and figuring out which sense or which combination of senses need this the most. What do you intuitively and emotionally feel like you need to do? For me, I was really recognizing that I think I need to disconnect from electronics. So that's the overstimulation of both the sense of touch, with that feeling of constantly being in Wi-Fi, constantly being around electronics with their e-smog. I associate that with touch. Although it's not as visceral as some people would think, it is something that for me is a very tactile sensation. But there's also the eye overstimulation of constantly looking at a screen, and that becomes overbearing. If I lived in a city, it might be that I need a break from my auditory sense. If I was on a very processed junk food type diet, then it might be, okay, it's time to really do a really big cleanse and eat very bland food of whatever type, whether it's a juice cleanse or more traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic type cleanse, which is generally like eating a congee type porridge type mixture for a week or so. So with this video, I was just wanting to bring your awareness to that. Perhaps that's something you couldn't quite put your finger on as to what you're currently needing for yourself, and I hope that by talking about this, it might have inspired you to be aware of how beneficial this can be, even for short periods of time. We don't need to go on these long, week-long, month-long retreats, or even, you see the other extreme is people thinking that they need to consistently do this. You've heard me talk about it, the 90-day juice fasts. Do we really need to be doing that? Yes, maybe in the cases of extreme illness, but when you see people obsessively getting on this track, it can be detracting from your health, because we need to find that happy medium, that balance. We do exist in this world. We need to experience what's out and about and what stimulates us, but also recognize when we're being overstimulated and hurt and drained by that stimulation. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, favorite, and share the video if you feel so inclined. And with that, I'll talk to you next time. Take care and embrace life without limits.